Right. Road to Dublin. Road to Dublin. You do know that Dublin is the capital city of the Republic of Ireland. And that is the host city for this year's UEFA Europa League final. So it's going to be Italy versus Germany. Yeah. Just like the UEFA Conference League is going to be Greece versus Italy. No, the UEFA Europa Conference League is going to be Greece versus Italy. And then UEFA Champions League is going to be Germany versus Spain. Yeah. So basically two Italian giants, two Italian teams playing in UEFA finals. And then two German teams playing in UEFA finals. So Germany and Italy are doing the most this season. Well, yeah. Welcome once again to Football is a Religion. I'm your host, Bube Simpatio Mhlaba. Welcome once again. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get straight to it. Let's go to the Bay Arena in Leverkusen or Neverkusen. Is it Leverkusen or Neverkusen? I guess whichever one of the two will suit you, man. I mean, it's crazy. You know, Roma, they had it in the bag. You know, they came back from a 2-goal deficit to actually overcome it, to actually overturn it. That 2-goal first leg deficit, they did so well to actually overturn it. And then it all went wrong from there. From that point in time, once again, Leverkusen have a never say die attitude. They don't seem to lose. They don't want to, they just don't want that unbeaten run of theirs to actually come to an end. Look at the fact that the newly crowned German champions, they struck 2 late goals to actually book a UEFA Europa League final date with Atalanta and actually preserve their unbeaten run in the 2023-2024, season after a valiant Roma effort. Remember last season these two clubs met. The only difference now was the touchline. You understand? The difference was on the touchline. Jose Mourinho was not on the touchline for AS Roma. That was the difference. You understand? A different tactical genius in Daniele De Rossi, but he's still in his first stint with AS Roma. He has only coached for a few months now, so he's not yet there. You can't yet rank him amongst the best. But this is a lesson for him. He will actually take more experience from this. You understand? Well, I guess remember as a former finalist, as a previous finalist of this tournament, making it to the semi-finals is actually a remarkable achievement. It's still great, especially as a coach, in your first half season, right? It's still pretty much, a decent record to have. You understand? Even though the aim was to actually go further and actually win it. Roma were just unlucky last season to actually not win it. They lost to the eventual winners, Sevilla. Right? Now, Bayer Leverkusen got their revenge this time. They got their revenge. Remember, they were knocked out by the Italians at this stage of the competition last season. Now the German champions have gotten their revenge. That's how we do it. And they did it in style, baby. They did it in style. Leverkusen mounted a late comeback to actually stretch their unbeaten run to 49 games. And now that means they've sealed the place in their first European final in 22 years, which was a 2-2 draw, earning a 4-2 aggregate victory over AS Roma in their UEFA Europa semi-final second leg. They will face the Italian side Atalanta in the decider in Dublin on May the 22nd. You understand? This was one of those games that I was so excited to actually witness, and it was one of those games that proved so much. It gave you so much promise, and it actually delivered on that. It delivered so much. You understand? Just when you thought that the Italian giants were going to run away with it and actually add on to it. It's just unfortunate that in football, it's always those fine margins and those unlucky moments that always count, that might go against you. You understand? So let us just actually look at what happened in this game. Let's go. Let's take a brief analysis on this particular encounter. What happened? So let me give you a brief analysis, right? First of all, Roma started brightly, and they made the game's first openings, including one from Romelu Lukaku, which actually required, Matej Kuva to actually come off his line and quickly, block that effort, right? Otherwise, from that particular moment in time, it was all Leverkusen, who they basically had the better of the opening. You understand? They had the better of the openings for much of the opening period, But the closest they came was through Ezekiel Palacios, whose shot hit the post. And then Miles Slivers, back before the ball was actually scrambled clear. And from that particular moment in time, you could sense that maybe the visitors might have something up their sleeve, because they did sort to actually exploit the missed opportunities, and they were actually given their chance. When Jonathan Tah brought down, Sadar Azmoun, playing against his parent club. And then guess who stepped up? The World Cup winner, Leandro Paredes, from the penalty spot, sent the resulting penalty down the middle to actually cut the team's aggregate deficit in the halftime going into the break, right? So that was, one of two penalties that the Argentines scored, right? And from that particular moment in time, you were like, okay, guys, does Roma basically, they still stand a chance of actually coming back? Could we see a potential upset? Could we see, a situation where Roma become the first team to actually end Leverkusen's, fairy tale unbeaten record this season? You could only wait and see. You had to just wait for the second stanza. In the second stanza, Leverkusen turned up the pressure after the restart, taking their number of attempts on goal beyond 20, right? But it was actually Roma who struck again. And from the spot once more, this time Adam Hlozek was penalized for a handball, with Paredes finishing well again to restore overall parity. So it was 2-2 on aggregate, 2-0 on the night. What a crazy game that was, man. That was crazy. I did not expect that at all. You understand? But I guess it's like fine margins. I guess it's also a matter of the fact that if you don't, it's not possession that wins you games. It's the opportunity. It's the, the goals. You just have to put the ball in the back of the net. You don't have to play pretty football. Well, I guess if it was Jose, maybe he would have gotten the tactics much more correct. But anything can happen in football. You understand? So it was just a game of fine margins, and you would think, I thought this game was going to go into extra time, or maybe Roma would go on to get a third, because confidence and the momentum was basically with them. But hey, the away side, they barely threatened a third. And instead, it was actually Leverkusen who struck next. Thanks to an own goal by Gianluca, Mancini. I didn't understand how did he score an own goal like that. I really don't understand. It didn't really look like he was under much pressure. You understand? He should have just headed the ball, out of danger. Or just cleared the ball with the back of his head. I guess that's the thing, when you're playing at a big stage like this. It's all about confidence. It's all about experience. And it's all about who wants it more. Because I think Mancini could have done better in terms of dealing with that cross. Maybe he should have just headed the ball out of danger. You understand? Use the back of his head and just hit the ball clear of danger. You understand? Because it didn't really look like he was under a lot of pressure. And then, following that particular moment in time, Bayer Leverkusen did the unthinkable. Grimaldo's deep corner evaded everyone as the ball just literally came in. But for the defender who saw the ball bounce off him into the net, that was just, I didn't expect that. But hey, man, I was like, okay, guys, is Leverkusen actually going to score a second goal? Are they actually going to come back into this game? Are they actually going to preserve their unbeaten record? Who knows? And exactly, they did the unthinkable. It seems to me that Leverkusen is a team that they don't play, man, at all. They only choose to play in the last 10 minutes. How many times have you seen Leverkusen this season overturning a deficit from the 80th minute going onwards? We've seen that many times, even in the Bundesliga, where it's like, okay, finally, their unbeaten record is coming to an end. But it's never to be. This team just seems to not give up. This team seems to, not want to actually, put a detriment to their unbeaten record this season. They just want those records, man. They want to finish the season as invincibles. And you could see from that particular moment in time, Roma had to pile forward in a bid to actually force extra time. But then Leverkusen sliced through their defense in the closing stages. Josep Stanisic cutting inside to actually fire and make it 49 games unbeaten and seal his side's place in Dublin. What a crazy game that was, man. What a crazy game. I mean, I just didn't understand what happened. Like, what really happened. It's one of those times where it's like you just can't explain it. You know, De Rossi's team just had a bit of bad luck. It was just bad luck. You understand? They had a bit of luck at the beginning, you know, and they earned it, right? But, however, you know, Leverkusen did not go down despite the changes. And it took an own goal and an error to actually knock Roma out. That's why I say it's just fine margins. Because now Leverkusen remain unbeaten in 49 matches across all competitions this season. They've won 40 and actually drawn the other 9. And for the fact that Leverkusen have actually won 10 and drawn 3 of their last Europa League matches. Their last 13 Europa League matches, if I'm not mistaken. And Leverkusen are unbeaten in 9 home European games. They've won 7 and actually drawn twice. And another thing about Xavi Alonso's side is that they've won all 6 of their home matches in the Europa League this season. You understand? And Leverkusen have actually scored 31 goals in 12 Europa League matches this season. That is their highest total in a single campaign in the UEFA competition, which is like 32, which was in the 2001-2002 season, Champions League, when they actually went all the way to make it to the final, only to lose out to Real Madrid. And then Roma had won their last 11 UEFA competition 2-legged ties before this defeat. And the Giallorossi have lost just 2 of their last 11 away matches in all competitions. You know, they've won 5 and they've actually drawn 4. So, yeah, man, they had a bit of luck, but it was not meant to be. Tough luck, man. And then, history in the making. History in the making. Atalanta. The blue and black. So, Marseille, as I mentioned even last week, that they were going to regret those missed opportunities. They were going to regret it. You understand? They were humbled by 3-0 in Italy. Okay? Therefore, it was actually a matter of the fact that, you know, goals, Ademola Lookman, Matteo Ruggeri, as well as El Bilal Toure, they were the ones that were actually on the score sheet for Atalanta. Meaning they actually sealed the 4-1 aggregate victory against Marseille to take Atalanta into their first European final in history. History in the making. Now, Atalanta have actually enjoyed one of their most famous nights in their history. You understand? In the history of the club, as you know, goals by Nigerian star Ademola Lookman, Matteo Ruggeri, as well as El Bilal Toure sent them through to a first ever European final with the 4-1 aggregate victory against Marseille in the UEFA Europa League semi-final. Like I said, Marseille, they were bound to rue missing those opportunities. Okay? Atalanta were dominant, man. They put up a great dominant display in this particular encounter. You know, Atalanta produced a superb performance in front of their home fans, you know, which resulted in them reaching a first maiden UEFA final in style. The Serie A side had, you know, already hit the post, you know, through Charles, you know, De Ketelaere, and the crossbar through, you know, their top goal scorer, Gianluca Scamacca. And that happened through a situation where the Nigerian Lookman weaved himself inside the box and actually fired in the opener via deflection. You understand? And from that particular moment in time, Ruggeri smashed a wonderful second early in the second half as the crowd actually started dreaming of Dublin, where they will actually face Bayer Leverkusen on the 22nd of May before the substitute El Bilal Toure ran through a curl and a fine third later on. So remember, the sides drew 1-1 in France last week, but Atalanta actually took control of this one. You know, from the onset, they took control. You know, the lively D, you know, Ketelaere, you know, rounded off Pau Lopez by hitting the post before Scamacca was actually denied by the crossbar after, you know, a corner kick. And Lopez actually made several good saves, you know, before Lookman actually beat him from the edge of the area. You know, one of 13, you know, Atalanta actually had 13 shots at goal in the first half alone, you know, and the French club Marseille had a rare glimpse of goal at the start of the second period, but you know, Iliman Ndiaye, you know, sent his lob just wide, and moments later, Lookman found Ruggeri, you know, charging through, and the wing-back hammered a shot into the top corner. That was a brilliant goal, ladies and gentlemen. Take nothing away from that. Take nothing away from even the man of the match, you know, Ademola Lookman. Jordan Veretout, did drift a long-range free kick against the top of the crossbar, but Marseille, the three-time runners-up in the UEFA Cup or Europa League, really threatened to actually reach a fourth final before Touré's fine, late third. I guess it was just one of those ones that they regretted missing those chances from the first leg, and they were bound to regret it. You don't come to Italy against Atalanta and just think it's going to be a walk in the park. You have to deliver on your chances when you have the home ground advantage. You have to. Because now Atalanta have now made history. They've now reached their first European final after a dominant performance in Bergamo against Marseille. Now, Gasperini's men, they literally created plenty of chances. They hit the woodwork twice. They were just comfortable throughout the game. And now they've booked their tickets to Dublin. A special mention for their academy product, Ruggeri, who scored Atalanta's second, which was a peak beauty, man. What a beauty that was. And I'm sure he'll never forget this game in his head. He'll never. Lookman was also on point. It was just a matter of power and individual quality, that spoke in the first half for Atalanta, especially in their attacking line. It was a mismatch. There will be a huge amount of disappointment for the traveling fans, especially Marseille. It's always the case when you come close to actually reaching the final. You understand? And Atalanta are now the 9th different Italian club to reach a UEFA Cup or Europa League final. And the nation with the most different finalists is Germany with 10, while England also have had 9, right? So La Dea have also lost only once in their 12 UEFA Europa League matches this season, whereas they've actually won 7 and actually drawn 4. And Gasperini's side actually have won all 12 of their last 15 home matches in all competitions. They've only drawn once and actually lost twice. So Atalanta, again, what's also worth noting about Atalanta is that they've only failed to score, in 2 of their last 25 UEFA competition matches, whereas Marseille have lost, a Europa League semi-final tie for the first time after winning, their first 3 against Bologna in 1999, Newcastle in 2004, as well as Salzburg. Yes, it was Salzburg that they met in 2018 before they actually played Atletico Madrid in the final, where they lost to the Spanish Giants eventually. And Olympique Marseille had only won their previous 8 two-legged UEFA Europa League knockout ties. So Marseille are basically without a win. They are now without a win in 9 matches against Italian clubs, where they've actually drawn three times and actually lost 6 times. So they have themselves to blame. They had so many chances in the first leg. They could have capitalized on them, but they didn't, and they paid the price. So look, that is it for now, based on the reports, my analysis on the UEFA Europa League. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll be in touch pretty soon, man. Who do you think is going to win this year's UEFA Europa League in Dublin? Is it going to be Atalanta or Bayer Leverkusen? Who knows? You mention your predictions. Go in the comment section, mention your predictions, and just let me know what you think, man. Cheers.